After being abandoned in the choice between two people, I realized that I was actually just a vicious supporting female character. Unexpectedly, the villain turned around and killed the chosen female lead. He raised his eyebrows and blew on the muzzle of the gun. Do you understand what a villain is? Going back on one's word is a virtue of a villain. The next second, we were all reborn, looking at the 18-year-old villain. I said indifferently, do you understand what a female lead is? 1. When I was kidnapped together with Chen Mo, I learned that I was actually just a vicious supporting female character. She is a pure white jasmine, while I am a vicious and dark person. The meaning of my existence is to set off her fragrance and beauty, but it was too late. The muzzle of the villain's gun was already pressed against my temple. In front of the tearful and pitiful Chen Mo, no one would choose me. My husband, Zhou Ji, wouldn't either, staring at Chen Mo. When he heard the choice between two people, he shouted without hesitation, I choose Mo, don't hurt her. He was so afraid that if he chose a second later, his Miss Jasmine would get hurt. He was so nervous, his eyes fixed on her, not sparing me even a single glance from the corner of his eye. My hands and feet were tied up, and there was no possibility for me to escape. I could only watch helplessly as Zhou Ji embraced Chen Mo and walked out step by step. He didn't look back even once. It seemed that this person had completely forgotten that he had once blushed shyly and begged me to marry him amidst the cheering of the crowd, and he had also devoutly kissed my lips and promised to love me forever. There was a gunshot, a blood flower bloomed on Chen Mo's white dress. The kidnapper who abducted us whistled flirtatiously, a perfect score. Looking at Zhou Ji with a shocked and painful expression, he laughed happily. You can't be serious. Is there really someone who believes in the villain's choice between two people? He pointed at me. Now, the person who loves you has a heart as cold as ashes. Then he pointed at the fallen Chen Mo. The person you love is dead. Zhou Ji, are you happy? I, who had managed to survive by luck. Oh no, I've met a real villain, too. The moment Chen Mo took her last breath, the galaxy seemed to hang upside down. I returned to the year when I was 17, with a student-like look. My fingers were slender and fair, without any marks of being imprisoned by a ring. This year, I was just in my senior year of high school, while Zhou Ji and Chen Mo were admitted to the same university and went to the North City. I still remember the day I sent Zhou Ji to the high-speed railway station. I said to him, Chen Mo is in the same major as you. Please take good care of her for me. She has always been competitive and never tells me anything when something happens. On the way, I chattered about Chen Mo to him for a long time. Just before entering the station, Zhou Ji lowered his eyes and asked me unhappily, Xiaoli, don't you have anything to say to me? I was taken aback, quickly glanced at the pedestrians by the roadside, stood on tiptoe and kissed Zhou Ji on the face. Take care of yourself too. After the kiss, I ran away as fast as I could. When I looked back, Zhou Ji was still standing there, smiling and looking at me. He said, Xiaoli, I'll be waiting for you in the North City. For these words of his, I worked hard for a long time, and tried my best to get into the same place as him. I didn't know that while I was calculating how many more points I needed for my grades, the person I loved had rotted away without any warning. In this new life, looking at the knowledge points that I have completely forgotten and the test paper that I can't do at all, I was silent for a few seconds, then picked up the pen dash. The revenge on the scumbag is on hold. I'll take the exam first. 3. To prevent Zhou Ji from contacting me again, I used the excuse, playing with a mobile phone in senior year of high school makes my studies go to waste, and directly handed in my mobile phone. My father was so touched that he knelt down on the spot and burned 3 sticks of incense to our ancestors, praying that my study mindset could last a little longer. That night, The Heart of a Dream Chaser played in my house all night. I ran to school the next morning, because a true dream chaser should run forward, facing cold stares and ridicule, and then I was kidnapped. There was no way to call for help. Damn it, I handed my mobile phone to my father. The familiar villain, in his youthful version, rolled up a copy of 5-year college entrance examination, 3-year simulation and pressed it against my temple. You've fallen on hard times, bro. The last time I saw you, you were holding a gun. The villain slapped the 5-year college entrance examination, 3-year simulation in front of me, clapped his hands twice, and a group of bald old men filed in. He raised his hands up, and his underlings snapped a banner above his head. It read, if you don't study today, your boyfriend will become your brother-in-law. If you don't master this question, they'll kiss each other. Me, the villain lifted his chin and smiled wickedly. Chenli, from today on, Your mission is to study hard and get into the same university as Zhou. In my previous life, although I worked very hard, I only managed to get into a university in the North City, which was several levels lower than the university where Zhou and Chen Mo studied. I said, I've already broken up with Zhou. I made it up, in this life, Zhou and I haven't even officially been together yet. In the shocked eyes of the villain, I sat down in front of the desk. Looking at the group of top-notch teachers in front of me, I said sincerely, can I still have tutoring here? If I have such resources, I want to study hard here, not to get into the university where someone is, but to get into a better university. My experience in my previous life told me that those who pin their meaning on others deserve to be let down. 4. The villain, Fu Qian, is the young master of the Beijing Circle. His main role is to be slapped in the face by the male lead and to eliminate the supporting female character to help the female lead rise to power smoothly. I don't know why he went crazy and killed the female lead Chen Mo in the previous life, and in this life, he is obsessed with helping me make progress. Maybe he has a deep love for Zhou. At the moment, I'm here listening to the class, while he is holding my phone and pretending to be me to fall in love with Zhou on QQ. Zhou seems gentle and polite, but in fact, he is more narrow-minded than a needle. In this life, I didn't go to see him off when he went to school, and he didn't send me any messages for several days after the start of the semester. Fu Qian, pretending to be me, coquettishly said to Zhou, "Dear brother, why haven't you been paying attention to me?" Zhou replied instantly. "Speak properly, Fu Qian." "Humph, I miss you." He sent a coquettish cat love emoji. I couldn't help it, I'm not like this usually, and Zhou also. Before I could finish my words, I saw Zhou reply with a little mouse sending a love emoji. Me, Fu Qian showed off. Do you understand what a man is? So I had to swallow my anger. Fu Qian is a punctual kidnapper. He takes me away at 8 a.m. every day and sends me back after the evening self-study ends at 9 p.m. With devilish teaching methods in between. As soon as I slack off, he points at the banner and scolds, kiss each other, kiss each other." When I say I've broken up and ask him not to bother me, he looks at me as if he understands that I still love Zhou very much. Just like this, I studied like crazy for a month and jumped from the middle of the grade to the top in the monthly exam. Fu Qian played the role of my substitute girlfriend in a coquettish tone for a month. On the evening of September 30th, he sent me home and was still reminding me, "We're not having a holiday tomorrow, come for tutoring as usual, you still need to improve your basic scores. I hope you're really concerned about my studies and not worried that there will be no one to cover for you when Zhou wants to have a video call." As soon as I got out of the car, I bumped into Zhou who was waiting at my doorstep. He asked with a dark face, "Shaoli, I went to your school to wait for you. Your classmates said that you haven't been to class for a month." His sharp gaze swept over Fu Qian, and his voice was filled with a murderous intent. "You've been fooling around with this kind of person." 5. Subconsciously, I dodged, revealing Fu Qian behind me. Sure enough, he had a stress reaction under the male lead's sarcasm. He adjusted his tie and showed a mocking smile. "What kind of person am I?" I whispered. "You're his QQ girlfriend." Fu Qian stumbled and almost fell on his face. He gave me a fierce glare, regained his momentum, raised his chin and said contemptuously, "A good dog doesn't block the way, understand." The single word understand was delivered with a cadence, fully showing the greasy demeanor of a domineering president. Zhou frowned and rolled up his sleeves. Before he could take any action, a fist had already landed on his face. Fu Qian rotated his wrist. "Bro, take my advice. Words are words, and actions are actions. When you want to hit someone, you have to strike first." He actually lived up to his words. He didn't delay his actions while speaking and kept punching Zhou in the face. Zhou was no pushover either. He turned around and started grappling with him. The two were evenly matched, but unfortunately, Fu Qian had bodyguards. As soon as he saw that his advantage of striking first was gone, he quickly called for reinforcements. Zhou stared in disbelief, his handsome face full of resentment. Despicable. Two fists are no match for four hands, and he was soon pinned to the ground. Fu Qian's leather shoes stepped on Zhou's face, and he showed his classic villain smile. "Who wants to have a one-on-one fight with you?" He turned his head and looked at me who was watching coldly. "You know what to do tomorrow, right? You don't want your boyfriend to be beaten like this every day, do you?" He bent down and spat on Zhou. "I quite like her, originally. I would have kept my promise to her and left you alone." There was full of shame and pain in Zhou's eyes. "Shaoli, you're doing this for me. Me, why is there still a part for me in this? I said coldly, Zhou Ji, it has nothing to do with you. The pain in Zhou Ji's eyes became even more intense, his voice was hoarse, like a beast cornered. Xiaoli, damn it, it's completely impossible to explain now. 6. Zhou Ji said to me in a low voice. Don't worry, I won't tell uncle and aunt. There was a glimmer of tears in his eyes. It's my incompetence, I had nothing to say. Zhou Ji limped away with his injuries. Before leaving, he stared deeply at Fu Qian and said hatefully, you wait. Fu Qian crossed his arms and sneered. After the person walked away, he put down his arms, his tone full of regret. Why didn't he say, don't bully a young man just because he's poor? Me, you look like you have a big chest when you cross your arms. Fu Qian instantly got angry, his face turning red. What are you talking nonsense about? I turned around and left. Haven't you been talking nonsense all night? It's just a return. 7. When I opened the door of my house, there was a familiar figure sitting on the sofa. It was Chen Mo. I didn't want to talk to her, so I quietly changed my shoes and walked towards my room. It's strange. These two people didn't come back during the National Day holiday in the past either. Xiaoli, there's milk on the table. Drink it before you go to sleep, Chen Mo suddenly said. No, the words of refusal had just come out of my mouth when I suddenly realized something. I looked back and met a pair of eyes full of tears. Xiaoli, it's me, she said. In this world, the only one who doesn't call me Xiaoli but stubbornly calls me Xiaoli is my elder sister, my only elder sister, the one who loves me. Chen Mo. 8. Since I was a child, I knew that there was a monster hidden in Chen Mo's body. The first time it appeared, I was 9 years old and Chen Mo was 11 years old. Our parents went to work in the south, leaving only the two of us to depend on each other. Chen Mo was a good elder sister and didn't hesitate to take on the responsibility of taking care of me. Every evening, she would boil hot water, mix it with cold water, and then call me to wash up. But that day, she suddenly ordered me around in a strange tone. Go and bring the water to me. I didn't think much of it and obediently did as she said. When I bent down to put down the basin, a hand pressed on the back of my head and forcefully pushed it down. I fell to the ground, and my head was pressed into the basin. My nose and eyes stung from the water. The abuser hummed a little tune happily behind me. Only when she saw that my struggling strength was gradually weakening did she lift me up. Oops, why are you so careless? She asked with a smile. I looked at her in horror, but she leaned closer affectionately, kissed my face with her lips, and licked the water droplets off my face. So fragrant, baby, you're so fragrant. For several years after that, when the monster appeared, it would always do similar things. First, it would torture me, and then it would hug me, call me baby, mark my neck with its lips and tongue, and its eyes would be full of obsession. Grow up a little more, baby. 9. At this moment, Chen Mo was sitting in the living room with tears streaming down her face, and her expression was exactly the same as every time she found out that the monster had hurt me. She seemed to want to say something but was afraid of being discovered by someone. In the end, she just said a soft sorry. I hesitated for a long time, then walked over and gave her a hug. I said, it doesn't matter, just like every time before, my elder sister is my elder sister, and the monster is the monster. I can tell the difference. 10. The next morning, I always felt that my neck was both painful and itchy. When I looked in the mirror, it was full of bite marks and red marks. My heart sank. The monster had come last night. It hugged me and sucked and bit from my chin to my collarbone, and I was trapped in my dream, completely unaware. I wrapped a scarf around my neck to try to cover the marks, but my mother still found them at the dining table. She tore off the scarf in one go, and then splashed the hot soybean milk on Chen Mo's face. She shouted at Chen Mo in a breakdown, pervert, get out of here. Chen Mo didn't have much luggage, just a small suitcase. She stood up silently and dragged the suitcase out. This wasn't the first time she had been driven out because of this. I secretly looked outside. Fu Qian was standing not far away by the roadside waiting for me to go for tutoring. During the holidays, my father returned my mobile phone to me. I sent him a message. Do me a favor, see that girl dragging a suitcase by the roadside, send her to the high-speed railway station. Please please. Fu Qian replied instantly. Chen Mo. My heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, this guy was also reborn, in this life. He shouldn't have met Chen Mo yet. Fu Qian. What did she do to you that she was kicked out even during the holidays? Me, she bit my neck. Fu Qian. What the hell? 11. In the afternoon, I sneaked out to find young Master Fu for tutoring. He looked at the marks on my neck, his face turning red and then pale. and then read again. He carefully glanced at my expression. How about we take a rest today? I had already opened the textbook and was waiting for the teacher to start the lecture. No need, I'm used to it, yeah. Chinemo has been like this since I was a child, I hinted at him, but we've seen a psychologist, and there's nothing wrong with her mental state. I knew that it wouldn't be long before the monster completely took over my elder sister's body. I was powerless to stop it, but if it were Fu Qian, with his brain, no, his influence, maybe he could find out the reason. I looked at him expectantly, but unexpectedly, he angrily pounded the table, molesting one's own younger sister at such a young age. What a beast. I was silent. Compared to the monster, it seems reasonable for a normal person to think of this first. I tried to explain, but he was immersed in the shock, with his face clearly showing you don't need to say anything, you've really had a tough time. After a long while, after my math tutoring session was over, he finally came to his senses, as if casually. He took out a band-aid from his pocket and pointed it in the air towards my collarbone. It's broken. His flamboyant eyebrows and eyes showed a bit of embarrassment. With one hand in his pocket, he suddenly said, Chinli, study hard, you can apply to any university you want, stay away from Chinemo and Zhouji, they will kill you. The young man's eyes were serious, as if he had made some kind of determination. This young master, can also be invincible on my own. Me, why is he suddenly so fired up? 12. The not yet fully fired up young Master Fu was severely extinguished by his mother, who rushed over from afar. Madame Fu, with her slender waist and delicate appearance, was as graceful as if she were dancing when she took off her high heels and hit Fu Qian with them, while tenderly apologizing. I'm sorry, I'm not good at teaching my son. She swung her high heels with great force. With each swing, Fu Qian let out a yelp, but he didn't dodge at all, he just stood there, not getting angry at all. Fu Qian quickly found the key to the problem. Mom, I didn't do anything, I'm just helping someone with tutoring for poverty alleviation. Chinli, say something. He looked at me pleadingly. Me, Auntie, Madame Fu turned to look at me, she stared at my neck, and her face changed drastically. Fu Qian's heart sank, he choked and said, I should have known better than to let you speak. Mom, if I tell you that this was done to her by her perverted sister, would you believe me? Madame Fu's answer was to raise her high heels. She even turned the shoe around, changing from holding it by the heel to holding it by the sole, with the sharp heel directly facing Fu Qian. Her intention to kill her son was obvious. She sighed, I'm so sorry, it's really a misfortune for our family. Fu Qian and I rushed forward at the same time. Auntie, Mom, stop. 13. It was the first time I saw the arrogant and gloomy villain being so obedient. He only explained in a gentle voice without talking back, and even squatted down to put the shoes back on for his mother. He said firmly and softly, Mom, go back to the North City, I have important things to do. When I go back for the new year, I'll bring you the peanut brittle you like the most. Madame Fu finally gave in. She gave me a phone number, showing it to me and also to Fu Qian. Remember to call Auntie if you have anything. She left. And the gold chain with pearls hanging from her ankle knocked against the metal buckle of the shoelace one after another. Tick-tock, matching the rhythmic sound of her high heels hitting the ground. It was very pleasant to hear. I remember this chain. In a few years, it was worn on the wrist of Fu Qian when he was holding a gun to kill someone. The monster in Chen Mo's body once complained to me that Fu Qian seemed to have a white moonlight. He was always wearing her relic. So it wasn't some non-existent white moonlight, but his real and warm mother. 14. Fu Qian sent me home as usual. On the way, I asked him why he was going after Zhou Ji. He casually replied, I just don't like the look of him. Me, oh, I thought it was because you knew he would eventually step on the Fu family. Fu Qian's pupils constricted. He stuttered, you, yes, I'm also reborn, Mr. Dylan with excellent marksmanship. I asked him, why go through so much trouble to get me to Zhou Ji's side, like in the previous life? Wouldn't it be quicker and more convenient to just take action directly? Zhou Ji is so weak now, while Fu Qian is still the high and mighty young Master Fu, it would be very easy for him to take action. Fu Qian stared blankly out of the window at the plane trees. At this season, only the edges of the plane tree leaves are a little pale yellow. The warm yellow light of the setting sun shines in through the gaps between the leaves and reflects in his eyes. He said very softly, because the person I want to protect is still alive and well in this world, so I don't want to be a cruel villain who goes back on his word. It's very naive, isn't it? 15. Mr. cruel villain and Miss Vicious supporting female character formed an alliance. The current strategic goal is to improve Miss supporting female character's grades. Because everything has been reset. More important than revenge is to live a good life in front of us, run hard towards a more beautiful future, love what I love and do what I do. 16. I didn't expect that this guy Fu Qian could really endure being a QQ girlfriend all the time, I said. Why do you go to all this trouble? Fu Qian looked mysterious. When a man becomes love-struck, his intelligence will decline. Look, I waste at least 5 hours of his time on love every day. He definitely won't have time to start a business. Is this the civilized method of you wealthy young masters in the capital? Couldn't you just find a subordinate company to suppress him? That would be much faster. Fu Qian waved his hand. Physical suppression is likely to trigger the don't bully a young man just because he's poor effect. He showed his familiar smug smile. Do you understand what a male protagonist in a certain genre of online novels is? I was silent. Who told you that Zhou Ji is a male protagonist in that genre? Fu Qian was very excited. I'm the villain who holds the script. He said that on a dark and windy night, he understood the truth. This world is just a novel. The protagonist, Long Out Yin, is named Zhou Ji. He has a childhood sweetheart helping him take care of things at home and a charming secretary helping him navigate the business world. He steps on the Fu family and beats other new tycoons. It's a very typical cool novel. After listening, it seemed a bit reasonable. A story of a person from a poor family rising to the top, with 2 female protagonists in an urban setting, a bit of a one-on-one relationship but not really. It very much conforms to the characteristics of that genre, but I know another version, I said. On the day I was kidnapped, a voice suddenly told me the truth of the world. This is a story of a wife and husband getting back together with a taboo theme. The female protagonist, Chen Mo, and her younger sister's boyfriend had already developed feelings for each other, but for the sake of protecting her sister, she gave her lover to her. At the wedding, they looked at each other from afar, secretly filled with sorrow. Forgive me for dressing up to attend, only to miss you. 17. Before I could finish, Fu Qian let out a loud ugh. He took a big sip of water to calm himself down, still in shock. We're pure-hearted people, we can't listen to this, he said in disgust. Your version is even worse than mine. You're actually comparing them. These two are just different narrative perspectives. What's the difference? But the two of us still felt that something was wrong. How could it be such a coincidence? After much hesitation, I still said, maybe both of these versions of the truth about the world are false. I told you that there is a monster living in my sister's body. It seems to have the ability to bewitch people, every time she hugs me. I have no ability to resist. I told him in detail about Chen Mo's strange behavior. If possible, I bowed to him solemnly. Please save my sister. Fu Qian listened very carefully. Only when he heard this did he step aside to avoid my bow and said to me seriously, have you ever thought that she might just have dissociative identity disorder, that evil-filled personality might be the main personality, and you're just unable to resist because of fear? He stared at me. For the first time, this usually carefree person was seriously lecturing me. Chinli, you can love someone, but don't always think about saving her. Only those who are willing to save themselves in this world can grasp the thread of hope from heaven and be redeemed, otherwise, she will drag the rescuer down like a water ghost. I was stunned for a while. First, I smiled gratefully at Fu Qian, and then I affirmed, Chen Mo doesn't have dissociative identity disorder. We've been to many hospitals, she's very normal. There are no signs of delusion or dissociative identity disorder. Moreover, I've seen that monster eat people. On a hot summer afternoon, the monster was lying on my father, eating him bit by bit. When I arrived, she was eating the last finger, frowning and looking very disgusted, as if she was not satisfied with the texture of human flesh. I clearly saw the blood on her fangs and the tail behind her swinging happily because of the meal. When she saw me coming, her tail even wrapped around me to measure my waist. The monster wiped her mouth and said regretfully, Sister, you're so thin. I shouted hysterically, called for help, and called the police. The monster looked at me with a smile, letting me struggle. She knew that no one would believe me. They all said that I was overly sad because of my father's disappearance. During the last quarrel, Zhou Ji shook off my hand and threw me to the ground. Looking tired and disgusted, he said, Chinli, can you stop being crazy, now? I was talking about this past that no one believed again. Fu Qian said, I see, I'll find someone to take a look. Don't worry. His eyebrows and eyes were solemn. and it seemed that he completely believed me. Strangely, I felt a long-lost sense of security and being trusted. I said, maybe Chen Mo herself also knows something, but Chen Mo always avoided my questions. Fu Qian touched my head and said in a soothing tone, you focus on the exam. In this life, nothing has happened yet, there's still time. Only then did I realize that unknowingly, I was already in tears. I wiped my tears, nodded, and forced a smile. I know, I'll work hard. 18. By the end of the year, I ranked among the top 10 in the grade. Fu Qian was even happier than me. He immediately gave the teachers red envelopes thicker than bricks. The day before he was going back to the North City for the new year, I treated him to a hot pot meal. It rarely snowed in the South City. The snow was fine and scattered, falling on the tip of his red, frozen nose. I laughed at him for valuing style over warmth, wearing a thin coat to show off in the cold winter. He deserved to be frozen to death. For some reason, he got angry and pinched a small snowball and threw it at me. Naturally, I fought back. We were like real teenagers of this age, naughtily playing around all the way. When we were parting, Fu Qian said to me, "Thank you, Chenli. I've been very happy and relaxed these days." He waved his hand, his eyebrows and eyes full of smiles. "I'm very glad I came to the South City to find you." Me, huh? It should be me thanking him for his long-distance poverty alleviation efforts. Fu Qian didn't explain. He left stylishly, leaving behind a large stack of test papers. Except for New Year's Eve and the first day of the new year, there was exactly one set of papers for each subject each day. Me, this new year. Neither Zhou Ji nor Chen Mo came back. Aunt Zhou came to our house as a guest, saying that her son had contacted several friends at school to start a business together. I sent a text message to Chen Mo. She didn't reply. Fu Qian, on the other hand, sent messages every day, talking non-stop. He said that the peanut brittle I helped him choose was very delicious and Auntie liked it. He said that the fish his mother raised had died and he planned to buy one to replace it. He said that his father was extremely stingy and didn't give him any New Year's money this year. He said, "Chenli, Happy New Year, may everything go your way. In the new year, love yourself even more." I stared at this sentence for several times. 19. After the Lantern Festival. Fu Qian didn't often stay in the South City. He was very busy. He had to inherit the family business, find someone to help Chen Mo, and also have an online relationship with Zhou Ji on QQ. Fu Qian even coaxed Zhou Ji to change to a new account to chat, so as not to affect the normal use of my account, until one day, his online chatting was discovered by his mother. The understanding Madame Fu made him a bowl of rainbow-colored noodles to show her support. Fu Qian was so scared that he outsourced this task overnight. The person he found was very skilled. Zhou Ji didn't realize at all that his girlfriend had been quietly changed again and was still chatting with her enthusiastically. Looking at those chat records, I just found it funny. I rarely thought about him anymore, as early as in the previous life. In the long nights when I stayed awake with my eyes open and in the endless quarrels after failed communication. The friendship of our youth had already dissipated. I put all my energy into my studies. I not only had to work hard, but I could also go all out. By the third mock exam, my grades had stabilized among the top 3 in the grade. Fu Qian no longer persuaded me to study hard. Instead, he persuaded me to learn to relax. I perfunctorily agreed to him verbally, but secretly I still studied like crazy. To be honest, I had fallen in love with the feeling of mastering knowledge points. As a result, 5 days before the college entrance examination, a group of law enforcement officers rushed into our building and took away the teachers who were staying up late to study with me. We received a report that someone is illegally tutoring. I looked towards the door. The whistle-blower was leaning against his big Harley, with a lollipop in his mouth, smiling at me smugly. "Fu Qian, are you crazy?" I rushed over to scold him. He put a helmet on my head and motioned for me to get on the bike. "The teachers need to rest, and so do you. It's just a few days left. Take a break. Don't be so tense all the time. Let's go. I'll take you for a ride." The summer wind quickly passed by my ears, and the street lights on the side of the road formed an intermittent line. Leaning against his back, I asked thoughtlessly, "What if I don't pass the exam?" I knew that not all efforts in the world could be rewarded, but I really hoped that this time it would be different. My voice was very soft. But he heard it. Fu Qian shouted carelessly at the top of his voice, "Then go to the university you can get into." I pinched his waist. "You should say that I won't fail the exam," but I couldn't help but laugh. My heart also became light in the night wind. The used-up pen refills in the drawer, the test papers piled higher than a person, the thick notebooks full of wrong questions. They were the answers, in this final battle. With lofty aspirations, ride the wind and soar to the 9 heavens. 20. The 2 days of the college entrance examination passed quickly. After the last subject, English, when I walked out of the examination room, I still didn't know whether the multiple choice questions that I changed from A to B and then from B to A were correct, but I knew that I had done my best. Then there was nothing to regret. Outside the examination room were all the parents looking forward with anticipation. I immediately saw my mother wearing a cheongsam and my father with the edge of his purple underwear faintly showing under his beer belly. It is said that it means win at the start and definitely succeed, which is one of the most popular outfits for parents during the college entrance examination in our country. When Chinemo took the college entrance examination, they dressed like this too. I walked towards my parents when suddenly a boy wearing a baseball cap bumped into me. A bottle of water still cold to the touch was stuffed into my palm. I turned my head. Fu Qian raised his eyebrows and smiled at me. Congratulations on being liberated. He stretched out his finger and pointed. Chinemo was standing not far away and mouthed to me, "You're amazing, Xiaoli." She didn't come closer. After saying that, she walked away against the flow of people without looking back. Fu Qian let out an AI sound. Hurriedly said, "I'm taking her to meet a big shot today," and then slipped away to follow her. It was not until very late that day that I received a message from Fu Qian. "Maybe it's a fox, ghost," I asked. "Is there any solution?" This time, the typing indicator on the other side flashed for a long time before a message was sent. "Not yet, fox, ghost." I pondered these 2 words over and over again, and a sense of unease like a mirage welled up in my heart. I suddenly wanted to ask Fu Qian if that shot of his that hit the bulls I really killed the monster. 21. At the end of June, the exam results were released. The result was about the same as I had expected. It was just enough to get into North City University, to be Chen Mo's junior and Fu Qian's classmate. Yes, Fu Qian is also from North City University, but he took a 1-year leave of absence last year. Fu Qian asked me how it felt to be admitted. I said it was like flipping a coin. There was a 50% probability of heads or tails. Now it's just that the head side has landed in my palm. Fu Qian was sincere. Only those who have passed the exam can say such pretentious words. I burst into laughter, as if casually. Fu Qian asked if we were to go back to the previous life now. I didn't hear clearly and asked what he said, but Fu Qian didn't say it again. In the evening, we were walking towards my home, unexpectedly. We bumped into Chinemo and Zhou Ji, who had come back for the holiday downstairs. They were intertwined, like 2 vines. Zhou Ji noticed me first. He nervously pushed Chinemo away. To be precise, it was the fox, ghost in her body. He stammered and dared not speak. I just said softly, "Excuse me, in the previous life." I asked why many times and got many answers. This time, I'm not surprised that he made the same choice. 22. Not long after, Zhou Ji came to see me once. He said he was bewitched by Chinemo. "You know, she's very strange," he pleaded. "When I see her, I feel like I'm possessed. But Xiaoli, the person I really like has always been you." His voice was very low. "I just made a small mistake. We've had so many years of feelings." I looked at him and smiled. "Zhou Ji, later, when you 2 had sex, you apologized to me like this too. You even told me that you were very afraid of that monster. So I stupidly believed that you were the victim." Zhou Ji had always known that Chinemo was strange, but she helped him obtain a lot of business secrets and fawned on him. Gradually, he came to think that she really loved him deeply and was even willing to be the other woman for love. He began to pity her and even love her, but I knew that she was just raising him, raising his sense of moral corruption, raising his lust and struggle. The day he completely became its captive, the boring prey would be simply eaten as food. Zhou Ji blankly avoided my eyes and pursed his lips. "Xiaoli, what are you talking about?" I impatiently interrupted him. "Stop pretending. You don't really think you're the 19-year-old Zhou Ji, do you?" 23. The moment I saw Zhou Ji, I knew that he was the 29-year-old Zhou Ji who had let me down. The 19-year-old Zhou Ji really loved me wholeheartedly. If it were the 19-year-old him, on that afternoon when I refused to see him off, he wouldn't have left angrily with his things. The small suitcase beside him actually contained snacks for me. There were dozens of things in it, such as lime-flavored soda, strawberry-flavored milk tablets, tomato-flavored potato chips, etc. They weren't expensive, but it wasn't easy to buy them all in the small South City. Before he left that year, he secretly ran to many places to gather them all. He gave them to me and told me that when he came back during the winter vacation, he would take me to eat other delicious food. The handsome young man confessed his feelings straightforwardly for the first time. Shelly, you have to remember to miss me. But the reborn Shoji had forgotten. He had forgotten that these were the snacks I loved to eat, and he had also forgotten the sincere heart that the young man wanted to give to the girl. That sincere heart, I had once accepted, cherished, and helplessly watched it gradually rot. I watched helplessly as my young man gradually changed beyond recognition and finally died in time, not even remembering himself. I said to Shoji, so, even when you go back to being 19 years old, you still want to continue our relationship and try to get me back. Shoji's expression changed. I'm not heartless, naturally, I'm reluctant to give you up, I sneered. Then do you know that it wasn't me chatting with you this year? It was, I got stuck for a while. Fu Qian outsourced this job. Now I don't even know who Shoji's QQ girlfriend is. Forget it, let's just say it was Fu Qian. It was Fu Qian. Shoji's face was a picture of shock. Look, you don't even remember what the 19-year-old me, the one you loved, was like. Don't disgust me, get lost. I walked away. I didn't tell him that he was not far from death. At the moment when we passed by each other, I saw the fox ghost staring hungrily at his neck and swallowing saliva. 24. Sure enough, this was the last time I saw Shoji. Not long after, a video was sent to the phones of Fu Qian and me. In the video, a pair of elegant hands dismembered Shoji and then ate him piece by piece. No matter how much he cried, begged, or cursed, those hands didn't stop. He had courted disaster by conspiring with a tiger, and he deserved this end. I didn't pity him, but I felt a sense of sadness like that of a hare mourning the death of its fellow. Moreover, I noticed that the background of the video was the abandoned building where Chen Mo and I were kidnapped in the previous life. I asked Fu Qian softly, as if afraid to disturb a dream, did we really get reborn? Could this one fox ghost really have the ability to turn the world around and let us all go back to the time before the story happened, allowing us to turn the tables against the wind? Fu Qian turned his head and didn't answer. He asked me instead, Chenli, is it Zhuangzi who dreamed he became a butterfly and was carefree who was happy, or is it the sober Zhuangzi who was happy? 25. I thought for a long time. I thought about this year full of hope and sweat, about my father who was still alive, and about Fu Qian who told me that because the person he wanted to protect was still alive, he wanted to be a decent person. Finally, I said to Fu Qian, go back and say goodbye to your parents. Zhuangzi who became a butterfly was happier. But he wasn't a butterfly, and I wasn't the Duke of Zhou. I had to face my real life. That damned monster wasn't dead yet. I couldn't let it have its way. I went home. My parents were still happy that I had been admitted to such a good university. My father was cooking in the kitchen, making my favorite pork with preserved vegetable. It was very hot in the kitchen. He was bare-chested and sweating profusely. When he heard me come in, he impatiently waved the spatula. Go, 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 stay outside. I leaned against the door and looked at him. I wanted to tell him, Dad, actually I didn't get into a very good university as you expected. I also didn't make a career. I got married as soon as I graduated. I didn't protect my marriage well, and I didn't protect the people I loved, such as my sister and you. In the end, I had nothing, but I didn't say anything. I calmly had the last meal with them and got up to say goodbye. I said to my father, Dad, there's one thing you said that was very right. As long as I want to and as long as I'm willing to work hard, there are many things I can do. This is true for the college entrance examination, and it will be true for other things too. My father looked up, and his chubby face wrinkled into a smile. He said, that's right. What Dad said won't be wrong. My daughter can do anything. Be confident. He bent his elbow towards me and made a go for it gesture. I stared at him intently, not willing to blink even though my vision was blurred by tears. I said cheerfully, I know, Dad. 26. As soon as the words fell, the scene completely shattered. When I opened my eyes again, I was still in that abandoned building. There was blood all over the ground, and fragments of Zhouji's clothes could be faintly seen. The fox ghost was leaning against the ground, gasping for breath. That shot of Fu Qian still caused her great harm. She didn't recover much even after eating Zhouji. The fox ghost had completely lost her human form. Half of her face was a white skeleton. When she saw me wake up, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. She questioned me. I wove a beautiful dream for you. Why did you wake up? Isn't the dream good? There are parents who love you, a good university, and a bright future. I said, "You're talking nonsense. I got my grades 1 point at a time, don't take credit for it." I pounced on her fiercely, grabbed the white bones on her face, and pulled hard. "How dare you mention my dad, for him? I have to come out and take revenge. I won't just know how to escape in pain and play those insipid love games with you anymore." I broke off several of her white bones. As I hit her, I laughed at her low-level methods. She even stuffed a script into my mind and said she was the female lead. She was really brainless. The fox ghost was furious. She was also weak at the moment. She turned over and started fighting with me. When we were at a stalemate, there was a gunshot. Fu Qian, yo, another bull's eye. He broke the fox ghost's breastbone. I woke up too. He raised his gun, walked to my side, and pulled me up. Looking at the fox ghost lying on the ground and unable to move, he stuffed the gun into my hand and held my hand. "You choose where to shoot." He smiled and said, "Let's try physical exorcism." He knew my unwillingness and my hatred. I pointed the gun at the fox ghost. "Are you very good at bewitching people?" At the chest. "Do you like eating people very much?" At the mouth. And at the hands. Shot after shot, the fox ghost's wails resounded throughout the abandoned building. She trembled and said, "It's useless. Even if you torture me, I can change to another body and continue to live." Ha ha ha. A voice answered her, "Really? After living in my body for so many years? Aren't you entangled with me?" I looked at the fox ghost in surprise and uncertainty as she struggled with a ferocious expression. She uncontrollably crawled out while screaming no. Before long, she actually crawled to the edge of the abandoned building. In an instant, I had an epiphany. "Sister," I shouted. She stopped briefly but didn't turn around. She said, "Shaoli, I'm sorry. No one will come to hurt you anymore. I'm sorry." She exerted force with her arms and rolled down. I subconsciously wanted to chase after her, but Fu Qian held me tightly. He said, "Qinli, do you still remember that I took Chen Mo to see a master? The master said that Chen Mo could only be truly liberated if she killed the fox ghost herself. In the next life, she will be born into a very good family." I couldn't stop crying. 27. The fox ghost only did one good thing, killing Zhou Ji. I was still his legal spouse and could inherit all his property. It was a huge sum of money, enough for me to squander for several lifetimes. I brought my mother to my side and hired a rehabilitation therapist to adjust her body. She didn't ask about her eldest daughter and son-in-law anymore. She just hugged me tightly. In a certain spring, I established a charity foundation in Chen Mo's name to help the left-behind girls who were like us back then, not only to accumulate virtue for her, but also to leave more traces of her in the world. A person really dies when they are forgotten. I hope that someone will always remember her. Fu Qian has done a good job in revitalizing the Fu family these years and has helped me handle a lot of things. With his help, I began to learn to manage the half of Zhou Ji's remaining industry that should have been mine. Fu Qian said to me, "No matter when, always try to live hard. Qinli, this is the truth you taught me." At first, he didn't expect me to accept the rebirth so quickly and work hard. Later, he also didn't expect me to accept everything returning to zero and going back to reality so quickly. I said that the illusion really led to our rebirth, although I regret that I ultimately failed to change my life at that time. The significance brought to me by that period of victory is extraordinary. This far exceeds the value of an exam itself, even in this broken and unchanged world. I have the courage to bloom new flowers. Fu Qian smiled. "Okay, then let's continue to work hard together." "Go for it." On his wrist, the pearl bracelet emitted a gentle light, silently supporting him. Me, how does this guy manage to have such a young mindset? In short, Mr. Dylan and Miss supporting female character are becoming the real protagonists of their own lives. After numerous storms. Extra story. 1. The person Chen Mo loved the most was her younger sister, but occasionally, she would also be jealous of her. Jealous that she was more beautiful than her and that she was more loved by their parents. She knew that every time her father came back from working away from home, he would secretly give her younger sister a small handful of candies and stuff them in her pocket. The way her father looked at her younger sister was different from the way he looked at herself. 2. In the second year of junior high school, this jealousy reached its peak. My parents had barely settled down in South City, but their financial situation was only enough to take one child to study there. Chen Mo saw her mother glance quickly at her father and then say without hesitation, "Naturally, Shaoli will come with us first." Her father was smoking and didn't say anything. He acquiesced. Chen Mo's heart felt as if it had fallen into the pickled cabbage jar in winter. She ran into the mountains crying, she thought. Why can't I be the one who is chosen? If you choose me, I will still give it to my sister. I know that my grades are better and I can get into a key high school even if I study in the countryside. I know that I am older and can take care of myself alone, but I also want to be chosen once, even just once. As she thought about it, a terrifying thought emerged in her mind. If only there was no younger sister. She kept thinking like this obsessively until she heard her sister's calls from afar. Only then did Chen-mo suddenly wake up. She found herself standing in front of a pool, beside which lay the skeleton of a strange beast. The black eye sockets of the skeleton stared at her and smiled at her, but when she rubbed her eyes and looked again, it was still the familiar mountain forest in front of her. There was no skeleton or pool at all. Chen-mo shivered. That night, it was her sister who found Chen-mo and hugged her, crying non-stop. Her sister said she wouldn't leave. If they were to leave, they would leave together. Her sister said, "Sister, don't be sad. We will always be together." Later, her sister still went to study in South City first. It was Chen-mo who asked for it. That night, Chen-mo learned about her own life experience from her mother's mouth. She was not her father's biological daughter. Her father took in her mother who was pregnant and abandoned, and later married her and had a younger sister. The younger sister was never called Chenli and had nothing to do with her name Chen-mo. Her name was Chenli. Born when the pears were round and just ripe, she was as lovely as her name. The day her sister left, her father said to Chen-mo, "I've arranged boarding for you. Give Dad 1 more year. Dad will earn money hard and take you there too." The tanned man rubbed his hands uneasily, his eyes full of apology. Tears still fell from Chen-mo's eyes. She said, "It doesn't matter, Dad." When she came back during the summer vacation, her sister was holding a box of chocolates tightly in her arms. She nervously handed it to Chen-mo. "Sister, eat this." During the long journey, the chocolates had melted. Chen-mo knew that her sister had always had a sweet tooth, but along the way, she had endured and hadn't eaten a single one first. Chen-mo divided the chocolates in half and gave half to her sister. She thought, in this life, I will never compete with my sister. I will always love her and protect her. But Chen-mo didn't expect that on that night a long time ago, her jealousy had summoned a demon. At that time, everyone's fate was standing on the edge of a cliff. The monster deliberately let Chen-mo discover her. She was biting and tearing at Chenli, making a lot of noise. When Chen-mo woke up, her sister's neck was already covered in blood, and her parents were knocking anxiously on the door outside. The worst-case scenario, Chen-mo's blood instantly turned cold. Her sister reacted first. She covered Chen-mo's mouth and shouted towards the door, "Mom and Dad, it's okay, my sister and I are just playing around," she said. "Sister, don't be afraid," she said. "Let's save money together to go to the hospital," she said. "Sister, you will get better." Obviously, she was the victim. Chen-mo threw herself into her sister's arms and burst into tears. Chen-mo refused her father's request to take her to South City together, using the excuse that she was already used to studying here. She didn't want to hurt her sister anymore, but the monster wouldn't let her go and still bewitched her parents to discover her strange condition. Sure enough, they were extremely frightened. Chen-mo didn't blame her parents. Anyone would be scared. What's more, at Chenli's pleading, they had already spent a lot of money on her and gone to the hospital many times. Chen-mo thought, "It's all my own fault." As the years went by, Chen-mo was gradually losing the war against the monster. She wasn't as ferocious or as cunning as it. She was just an ordinary girl targeted by bad luck. The only thing she could do was to stay away from her sister and stop contacting her. But she still messed up her sister's life. The monster in her body seduced her sister's lover and raised a new food. The monster once said that food in a state of intense emotion was the most delicious. She loved delicious food and even more loved the process of cooking it, so she used Zhou to torture her sister step by step, making her change from a charming little girl to a pale and tired one, making her hurt, making her cry, making her miserable. The monster was extremely happy. She even killed their father for her sister. She didn't like eating greasy middle-aged men. She just wanted to see the food she had raised for so many years, which had been stubbornly resisting and trying hard to deal with her, collapse. Chenli. Chen-mo's heart was bleeding. Fu Qian's shot seriously injured the monster. She had to use all her life's abilities to create an illusion. Zhou, Fu Qian, her sister, and even she herself were all trapped in it. The real predator was recuperating while baring its fangs at them. She was waiting for them to die in the collapse when the illusion shattered. 9. Chen Mo had seen Fu Qian in the monster's body, a superficial and naive young master. The monster wanted to eat some upper-class people, so she managed to kill his parents and then appeared beside the young master who had suddenly suffered a great change, trying to capture him. Unexpectedly, the young master was quite smart. He not only withstood the monster's temptation but also discovered the strangeness of Chen Mo and Zhou Ji a few years later. He almost succeeded in killing the monster. Unfortunately, he was just one step short, Chen Mo thought. He should have immediately fired another shot, instead of standing there like a fool, making some useless villain declarations, so brainless. 10. In the illusion. The brainless young master took Chen Mo to meet many masters. Chen Mo knew that she and the monster had grown together for too long. If the monster was completely eliminated, she wouldn't be able to survive either. Her soul would be completely dissipated, and there would be no reincarnation. The young master sighed and didn't tell Chenli, nor did he force Chen Mo to make a choice. Chen Mo thought, although this young master is brainless, he's actually quite nice. She said to the young master, "Tell my sister that the master said if I can eliminate the monster, it will be a great achievement, and I'm going to be reborn as a young lady. Please tell her not to be sad." The young master agreed. 11. Chen Mo was the last one to break free from the illusion. Her soul was really too weak. Chen Mo happily watched her sister disappear from the illusion. She knew that she had gone to the real world. Like a warrior, she had become as brave and bright as she was many years ago, daring to fight to the death with anything that stopped her. Chen Mo picked up her phone. For so many years, fearing that her sister's feelings for her would grow deeper, she had never replied to her sister's messages. Her sister had sent many messages. "Sister, the Mid-Autumn Festival is coming soon. Come and celebrate together. I bought your favorite snow skin mooncakes. Sister, this semester, I heard from Mom and Dad that you did very well in the exam. You're so amazing. I'm proud of you. Sister, don't be nervous for the college entrance examination. I believe in you. Sister, it's the new year. Happy New Year. Sister, I will become even braver. Do you believe me?" Chen Mo read one message after another and replied by quoting each one. Finally, she could reply, "Sister, thank you for the snow skin mooncakes. I like them very much. Sister, I'm always proud of you too. Sister, I'm not nervous. You, on the other hand, have to work hard. Sister, Happy New Year, peace and good luck. Sister, I've always believed in you. You're the bravest girl I've ever seen." She put away her phone, returned to reality, and fought side by side with her sister. 12. Chen Mo tore the monster's soul to pieces. It turned out that it was just a wisp of remnant soul, so small. With my hands and feet bound, I had no possibility of escape and could only watch helplessly as Zhou Ji embraced Chen Mo and walked out step by step. In this way, her sister wouldn't be hurt anymore. When she finally disappeared, Chen Mo thought of a very old little thing. At that time, her sister was still young, and Chen Mo was leading her home from school. By the roadside, clusters of white flowers had blossomed and given off a fragrance. At some point, she picked a bunch and handed it to her sister so that she could also smell nice all over. Her sister smiled and pinned one on her lapel in return. She said the teacher told her that these were jasmine flowers. She sang the song that spread throughout the streets and alleys, full of fragrance and beauty on the branches, fragrant and white. Everyone praises. The clear child's voice led her step by step on the way home. Chen Mo thought, at least in the end, she still got up to protect her sister. That's really great. Story 2. In order to save my boyfriend's company, I married a mermaid. The mermaid was cold-natured and had a strong desire, and he was inferior because of his fish tail. I humiliated him countless times by saying, "Your slippery fish tail makes me sick just by looking at it, just like you." Later, I was killed by my boyfriend. To save me, the mermaid plucked out all his scales, was willing to turn into foam, and died without a whole body. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the night of my marriage to the mermaid. He concealed the inferiority and brokenness in his eyes and said, "What do you want to say again?" I raised my head to look at him. "Can I kiss your beautiful fishtail?" 1. If I remember correctly, the last person I saw before losing consciousness was Ji Huixing. He fell in a pool of blood and gave me a tragic and beautiful smile. "Xiaoyu, don't be afraid, I can save you. Xiaoyu, if I can't save you, I'll die with you. Xiaoyu, actually, my fish tail isn't disgusting." Ji Huixing was trying to save me. He was most afraid of pain, but he endured the excruciating pain and plucked out his scales with his own hands. He loved the sun the most. but he turned into foam in the sun. He hated me the most, but he was willing to exchange his life for mine to let me live. My back was soaked in cold sweat, and I woke up from the dream with a start. I sat up suddenly, gasping for breath. Outside the window, the sun was shining brightly, and the birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. I sat on the bed, unable to distinguish between reality and the dream, and couldn't come back to my senses for a long time. It was not until I heard a knock on the door that I realized, this was not anywhere else, this was the place where I had lived for a whole year, the home of Ji Huixing and me. I stumbled out of bed and rushed to the table. I saw the date on the calendar clearly, it was 2021, this was the year I had just married Ji Huixing. Next to the calendar, there was also a wedding photo of Ji Huixing and me. I picked up the photo with trembling hands, and all the unpleasant memories came back in an instant. Ji Huixing, don't you think you're disgusting? You're a mermaid, but you always want to live a human life, aren't you disgusting? Ji Huixing lowered his head, pretending not to hear my harsh words, and silently pasted the torn-up photo together again and again. After the knocking on the door behind me lasted for 5 minutes, the person knocking finally lost patience and pushed the door open. I thought it was Ji Huixing, so I quickly wiped away my tears and turned to look. But it was the nanny, Aunt Chen. Aunt Chen frowned, sized me up, and said in an unfriendly tone, "What are you going to do again? Didn't the young master already agree to you? What else do you want to do?" I didn't react for a moment. What? Aunt Chen casually threw the flower basket and dress in her arms on the sofa, gave me a disgusted look, and said, "Wasn't it you who made a fuss about going to your ex-boyfriend's opening ceremony? The young master didn't let you go. So you took medicine and cut your wrists. Now what are you pretending to be stupid for? Disgusting." I lowered my eyelashes and finally realized that I had been reborn back to that day, on this day in my previous life, because Ji Huixing didn't let me go to Jiang Nan's opening ceremony. The two of us had a big fight, and the reason why Ji Huixing didn't let me go was that Jiang Nan would announce his relationship with my best friend at the opening ceremony. He didn't want to see me sad. But I just thought he was targeting Jiang Nan. I beat and kicked him, said all kinds of insulting words, and even cursed him to death. But even so, after I took sleeping pills and fell into a coma, Ji Huixing still didn't hesitate to pluck out his scales to save me. I woke up from my memories. Aunt Chen hadn't left yet. While tidying up the room, she complained, "What a good person the young master is. How could he meet a heartless woman like you? He really has bad luck." I picked up the flowers and the dress on the sofa and directly stuffed them into the trash can. Aunt Chen became vigilant instantly. "What are you going to do again?" I raised my head and asked, "Where is Ji Huixing?" Aunt Chen turned her head and ignored me. "I don't know." I fell silent. I knew Aunt Chen wouldn't tell me, not only her, but everyone in this villa wouldn't disclose Ji Huixing's whereabouts to me, because every time I looked for him, it was nothing good, since no one would help me. I would find him myself. I searched room by room according to the memory of my previous life until I pushed open the door of Ji Huixing's study. A strong smell of blood rushed towards me, and I was completely stunned. I saw Ji Huixing sitting naked from the waist up, weakly in a pool of blood. His beautiful blue fish tail was glowing with faint light spots. He hung his head, pale-faced, the whole person looked dangerous and charming. I knew that it would be very painful for a mermaid to pluck out their scales, but I never thought it would be such a tragic scene in front of me. The door was suddenly pushed open by me. Ji Huixing showed impatience and said hoarsely, "Get out." I didn't move. The aura around Ji Huixing suddenly became violent. There was a blood-thirsty red light in his eyes. He slowly raised his head and said, "Are you courting death?" When he saw it was me, his fierce tone paused. He quickly turned his head and tried to cover his exposed fish tail in a flustered manner. I should be happy to see Ji Huixing alive again, but I couldn't hold back the sobs in my voice. "Ji Huixing, does it hurt?" Hearing this, the hand that Ji Huixing put on his fish tail curled slightly, and then he sneered and asked, "It has nothing to do with you. Tell me, what do you want me to do for Jiang Nan again?" I wiped away my tears and walked in. "No, don't come over." When Ji Huixing saw me lift my foot, he propped himself up and hid under the table. At the same time, he said coldly, "Get out." I paused, looked at his resistant expression, bit my lip, and said stubbornly, "I won't go out." Ji Huixing's movement froze. The sarcastic arc at the corner of his mouth became larger and larger. "Don't go out. What are you going to do here? What do you want to say again? Do you want to divorce or curse me to death?" I raised my foot and walked towards him firmly. "Ji Huixing, actually, I want to say, When Ji Huixing saw me approaching, he turned his head indifferently. His delicate features were hidden in the dim light, making it hard to see his expression. I squatted down, looked directly into his dark blue eyes without hesitation, and said softly, "Your fishtail is so beautiful, like colored glaze." As soon as the words fell, Ji Huixing, who had been tensing his jaw, was shocked and suddenly raised his head. I took the opportunity to raise my hand and hold his face, and asked sincerely, "So, can I kiss it, too?" There was a complex expression in Ji Huixing's eyes. He looked at me for a long time, gently pushed my hand away, and said with a cold face, "Sang Yu, I won't stop you from going to find Jiang Nan anymore. You don't have to say these insincere words to please me." I looked at my empty hand and quickly explained, "I'm telling the truth." "Enough," Ji Huixing interrupted me, "get out." Knowing that I couldn't be too hasty, I lowered my head in disappointment, stood up, and was about to say goodbye to him. As a result, I slipped under my feet, and everything in front of me spun, and then, I fell straight and kissed his tail. Before I could even cry out in pain, Ji Huixing gasped in a big reaction. A strange blush instantly spread from his face to his neck. "Sang Yu, you." It seemed that he was going to be angry. Without saying a word, I simply kissed it a few more times, and then looked at him cautiously. "Look, I really want to kiss your tail, I'm sincere." Ji Huixing ignored me. His eyes were closed tightly, his face was flushed abnormally, and his breathing was very rapid. I reached out worriedly to check his body temperature. "Ji Huixing, your face is so red, do you have a fever?" Ji Huixing suddenly opened his eyes and grabbed my hand. The next second, I was thrown out by him mercilessly. I didn't even have time to react. The study door closed heavily in front of me. It was noon, and everything around was quiet. Only two little birds on the windowsill behind me were talking. "Quack, she kissed it, she kissed it, she kissed the tail." "Quack, she doesn't know that the fish tail of a male mermaid is equivalent to the second." "Quack, she's so brave." "Sang Daong, Sang Daong." Me, I knew these two birds. One was called Chi-Chi, and the other was called Baba. I asked curiously, "Equivalent to the second what?" The two little birds looked at each other and let out a gloating quack laugh. One of the little birds flapped its wings excitedly. "Quack, equivalent to a man's." Before the words were spoken, the door behind me opened with a bang again. Ji Huixing had changed back to his human form. He changed into a clean white shirt and black trousers, and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, making him look cold and abstinent. There was no sign of the embarrassment just now. He strode over, didn't even look at me, and with his big, articulate hand, he pinched the heads of the two little birds and casually threw them out of the window. Soon, the two birds' howls came from outside the window. I stepped forward worriedly. "Ji Huixing, are you okay?" Ji Huixing turned his back to me, and his voice was hoarse. "Sang Yu, don't blame me for not reminding you. If you go now, you can still catch up with having a meal with Jiang Nan." Looking at his cold back, I gritted my teeth and rushed forward to hug his arm. "Why would I have a meal with someone else? I only want to have a meal with you." After thinking about it, I added, "Husband." As soon as Ji Huixing heard the word husband, he suddenly pulled out his arm and distanced himself from me. "Sang Yu, here." He suppressed the tyranny in his eyes and laughed instead of getting angry. "The last time you called me this, it was to pluck my scales and give them to Jiang Nan. Then what about this time?" For my heart ached. I stepped forward and grabbed his hand tightly. "Of course not. Aren't we husband and wife? It's normal for me to call you this." Ji Huixing still didn't believe me. His suspicious eyes swept over me. Finally, he looked at his watch. "If you don't go now, you really won't be able to see Jiang Nan." Why does he always mention Jiang Nan? Actually, it's him who likes Jiang Nan, right? I stood on tiptoe, hooked my arm around his neck, and said pitifully, "I didn't want to see him in the first place. I only want to see you, husband. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten anything all day." Ji Huixing lowered his eyelashes, and a trace of distress flashed in his calm eyes like a deep pool. It seemed that acting pitiful worked. I blinked and continued to look at him pitifully. "I was in such a hurry to come out to see you today that the shoes I wore didn't fit. My feet are injured. It hurts so much." Hearing this, he was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed as if giving in. He squatted down and carefully held my ankle. "Let me take a look." I nodded vigorously, then rested my chin in my hand and watched Ji Huixing seriously. People often say that mermaids from the deep sea are all extremely beautiful and good at bewitching people. My eyes followed Ji Huixing's long, slightly curled eyelashes all the way down, past his fair and delicate side face, and finally landed on his rosy and soft lips. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. Oh, my God, what a beautiful little mermaid, what a kissable mouth. Thinking this way, I did it. I raised my hand and put my arm around his neck. Ji Huixing's eyelashes trembled. He slightly raised his eyes, and there seemed to be hooks in his eyes. He just stared at me like that. Should I kiss? Should I just kiss once? I couldn't help but lean towards his lips. Just as I was about to kiss him, my phone rang. The ambiguous atmosphere was instantly broken. A trace of disappointment flashed across Ji Huixing's face. He his eyes and pretended to be nonchalant. I was annoyed. I took out my phone and answered it without looking. You'd better tell me that the sky is falling. Before I could finish speaking, Jiang Nan's complaining voice came from the other end. Sang, did Ji Huixing agree to you? Why don't you talk? Didn't he agree to you? You can play the pity card. Make him feel sorry for you. Sang, it's all just a temporary measure. I know you think his tail is disgusting, but after it's done, we can be together forever. My heart tightened, and I quickly looked up at Ji Huixing. Ji Huixing was also staring at me. There was a terrifying gloom in his eyes. When he saw me looking at him, he sneered twice, pulled my hand away, stood up, and walked away in big steps. 3. I hung up the phone and trotted to catch up with him. Ji Huixing, it's not what you heard, don't listen to that idiot's nonsense. Enough, sang you. Ji Huixing stopped, didn't look at me, and said coldly, his back was trembling slightly, go to him. I said I won't stop you anymore. I gritted my teeth, rushed forward, and hugged his waist. His back stiffened, and he seemed to want to break free from me. I simply threw caution to the wind, turned his face around, ripped off his glasses, and started kissing him randomly. He wanted to struggle, but he was afraid of hurting me. He gently held my waist, allowing me to cover his face with saliva. After a while, I opened my eyes and looked at Ji Huixing. His eyes were red-rimmed, his eyes were watery, his collar was messy, and he looked like he had been severely ravaged by me. I looked away guiltily, not daring to talk to him. Ji Huixing glanced at me, lowered his eyelids, and said in a low voice, after kissing me, you're going to find him, right? Of course not. I suddenly turned my head, wishing I could swear to the sky, I was blind to fall in love with Jiang Nan before. Ji Huixing, I swear that from now on, you're the only one in my eyes. Let's live a good life. Ji Huixing lifted his eyelids and looked at me, then lowered his head again and laughed bitterly twice. You've said such lies countless times. I was anxious and eager to prove it to him. This time it's really not a lie. Ji Huixing. Ji Huixing twirled the ring on his ring finger. He didn't say anything, but obviously, he didn't believe me, looking at his action. I suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a kind of contract in the mermaid race that would bind them together for a lifetime once concluded. In the previous life, he was so angry with me that he wanted to conclude the contract with me more than once. But I refused desperately by feigning death. Thinking of this, I seemed to have grasped at a straw. I quickly said, do you mermaids have some kind of contract? Ji Huixing lowered his head and still didn't say a word. I'm willing to conclude the contract with you and be tied to you forever. Do you believe? Okay. Ji Huixing looked up in a second. The words, do you believe me, got stuck in my throat. The two little birds outside the window started chirping again. Quack. Scheming. This is scheming. Quack, she fell for it. Sang Daong fell for it. I didn't hear clearly. What did they say? What kind of fishing? Fishing. Ji Huixing said without changing his expression. They said they want to fish. Me, birds want to fish. 4. After dinner, Ji Huixing went straight into the bathroom. I sat on the sofa playing with my phone. Just then, Jiang Nan sent me a voice message with a crying tone. Song, I'm drunk. Come and pick me up. Okay. I looked at the time. It was 11:30 at night. I sneered and replied to him, okay, Jiang Nan, I'll come to pick you up. You must wait for me. Don't leave. Be sure to wait for me. After sending this voice message, I turned off my phone without hesitation and threw it aside. Idiot, you'd better wait until you die. Pulling myself out of my thoughts, I suddenly felt a chill on my back. I shrank my shoulders and looked back. There stood Ji Huixing, covered in water vapor, wearing short-sleeved shirt and shorts that resembled a primary school student's uniform. He was staring at me motionlessly, with a gloomy glint in his eyes. I smiled brightly. Gee. He coldly ignored me, retreated back into the bathroom, and slammed the door shut with a bang. I was startled. Then I thought that he must have heard the voice message I just sent and misunderstood. With this thought in mind, I quickly got up to knock on the door. Just as I reached the door, the bathroom door swung open with a whoosh, I was eager to explain, Ji Huixing. I stopped mid-sentence, stunned. Ji Huixing had changed out of the previous short-sleeved shirt and shorts, his upper body was bare. And he only had a bath towel wrapped around his waist, his hair was dripping, and the water droplets fell onto his firm chest, rolling down along the into the bath towel. I was mesmerized, and couldn't help swallowing my saliva, forgetting what I was going to say. Ji Huixing lowered his eyes. Are you going out? I came back to my senses. I'm not. Ji Huixing's mood was low. He took a few steps closer. Will you come back? I nodded subconsciously, then quickly shook my head. I'm not going out, Ji Huixing. I won't go to pick him up. Suddenly, Ji Huixing's legs went weak, and he leaned against me. I held him nervously. Ji Huixing, what's wrong with you? Ji Huixing's face was slightly pink. He blinked his eyes and looked at me innocently. Seryu, I think I stayed in the bathroom for too long and got anoxia. My head is so dizzy. Got anoxia. I anxiously touched his forehead. What should we do? Sit down first, I'll get you a glass of water. He looked up weakly. Okay. I rushed to pour water for Ji Huixing in a flurry. Chi-Chi and Baba beside in the living room started chirping shrilly again. Quack. Scheming green tea with a fool. I didn't have the time to pay attention to them. Just as I turned around, I seemed to see Ji Huixing raise his foot without hesitation and kick one bird at a time. The two birds were instantly ejected out. 5. After drinking the water, Ji Huixing leaned on the sofa with his eyes closed. Resting, I sat beside him, and my eyes involuntarily fell on him again. Ji Huixing's eyes were slightly closed, and he leaned back on the sofa in a relaxed manner, revealing a clear jawline and a sexy, protruding Adam's apple. Looking up, I could also see his moist and soft thin lips glistening under the light. I suddenly felt a little thirsty. This damned fish, how could he be so attractive? I shook my head vigorously and stood up to find something to do. I didn't notice at all. Behind me, Ji Huixing opened his eyes, a trace of cunning flashed in his eyes, and he stared at me with a gloomy look. 6. During these days of marriage, I had been living in the second bedroom, and my clothes and daily necessities were all piled up there. I entered the second bedroom and opened the wardrobe to pack my things. I don't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, Ji Huixing's voice came from behind. Are you taking clothes, or going to find him? I turned around abruptly. Ji Huixing was suppressing the pain in his eyes, with a bitter smile. Oh, outside is cold, remember to wear more. After saying that, he turned around and fled into the master bedroom, closing the door behind him. 3 minutes later, I pushed open the door of the master bedroom with a pile of clothes in my arms. Hearing the sound, Ji Huixing looked up. I gasped and glared at him. Ji Huixing, come and help. There are so many things that I can hardly hold them. Ji Huixing was stunned for a second, and his eyes showed complex emotions. What are you doing? I put down the things and put my hands on my hips. Can't you tell? Of course, I'm moving into the master bedroom. As soon as I finished speaking, Ji Huixing suddenly looked up, looking at me in disbelief. I pushed the all-black clothes in the wardrobe to one side and hung all my clothes in. Ji Huixing hadn't said a word since just now, and he just followed me closely. It was quiet all around. Ji Huixing suddenly said, Seryu, what is this? I glanced at the thing in his hand. Oh, it's my lip balm. Ji Huixing blinked. How do you use it? I didn't look up. How else can you use lip balm? Just apply it directly on your lips. Oh, is it, like this? I looked up at him and happened to meet his gaze. Ji Huixing's black eyes were gloomy, and he was staring straight at me. His thin lips, which had just been applied with lip balm, were glistening like jelly. They looked so kissable. Damn it, he actually applied the lip balm so seductively. My face turned red, and I quickly looked away. You need to press your lips together. Ji Huixing replied softly. Press my lips together. Like this. I couldn't help but look at him again. He blinked his eyes and stared at me steadily. Damn it, I couldn't hold it back. I gritted my teeth, suddenly leaned forward, held his face, and kissed him several times. Phew, I felt relieved. I let go and opened my eyes to look at him. Ji Huixing didn't speak. His eyes were red-rimmed, with a lipstick mark on his face. His clothes were messy, and he looked like a wronged little daughter-in-law who had been bullied but dared not speak. Seeing this, I felt embarrassed. Ji Huixing, what's wrong with you? He pursed his lips, looking lonely, and said in a low voice, mermaids from the deep sea can't be kissed casually. If you kiss them, you have to be responsible. seeing his pitiful look, I wished I could swear, "I'll be responsible, I'll definitely be responsible, I'll marry you." As soon as I said this, both of us were stunned. I was really dazed by him and said whatever came to my mind. Ji Huixing suddenly looked up. The previous pitiful look was gone, and his eyes were full of possessiveness. He stared at me as if he would tear me apart and swallow me in the next second. I cleared my throat awkwardly, raised my head, and looked at him seriously. "Ji Huixing, I was blind-hearted before and did a lot of things to hurt you, but from now on, I won't. Ji Huixing, I will love you well." This time, it was his turn to lean forward and hold my face. I raised my head. "Believe me, okay." Before I could finish speaking, he lowered his head and sealed my lips. This little stupid fish is quite good at kissing. "Okay, open your mouth." In the heat of passion, I heard him say this in my ear. 7. I had a good dream all night. Early in the morning, I heard a commotion downstairs. I got up irritably and found that Ji Huixing, who was originally sleeping beside me, was already gone. Fragmentary scenes from last night popped up in my mind. I vaguely remembered. I hugged him tightly with all my hands and feet. Regardless of his resistance, I slept well, but he seemed to have taken several cold showers. I rubbed my head, put on my slippers, and went downstairs. Only then did I find that the person making noise downstairs was Jiang Nan. As soon as Jiang Nan saw me, he rolled his eyes several times, and his tone was full of complaints. "Saying you, why did you come out so late? Do you know how long I've been waiting for you here? What's wrong with you? Why don't you come out to greet me? And you let these snobbish nannies stop me." I was busy looking down at the big diamond ring on my ring finger, not having the time to pay attention to him. "When did Ji Huixing put this ring on me?" "Last night." "Such a big one. How much does it cost?" Jiang Nan took a deep breath. His tone was full of condescension and contempt, but his face was filled with a smile. "Saying you, I've thought about it. You'd better not stay by Ji Huixing's side anymore. I've decided to take you away." "You must be overjoyed, right?" I looked up at Jiang Nan and said straightforwardly, "Overjoyed my ass." Jiang Nan raised his eyebrows triumphantly. "Of course I know you're overjoyed at my mom." What did you say?" I folded my arms and raised my chin. "Jiang Nan, I was nice to you before because you saved my life, but as of today, that life has been repaid to you, so we're even. Get out of here. I'm annoyed just looking at you." When he heard the words "save my life," a trace of guilt flashed in Jiang Nan's eyes. Then he suddenly raised his voice. "Saying you, if it weren't for me 2 years ago, you would have drowned in the sea. Your life was given by me. My parents said that I'm your savior, and you have to repay your kindness. During the years I was adopted by the Jiang family, their whole family instilled in me the idea that I owed them, and because of Jiang Nan's act of saving my life back then, I obeyed him in everything, but this time it was different. He had killed me once, and we were even." I frowned and looked at him. Before I could speak, I felt the temperature around me drop instantly. I turned my head, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ji Huixing standing on the second floor, with his hands in his pockets, looking at the direction of Jiang Nan and me with a gloomy expression. Jiang Nan was still talking. "Saying you, stop pretending, you should stop throwing tantrums. I know you hate Ji Huixing and want to come with me. You must be dying to, right?" I turned my eyes back to Jiang Nan and raised my voice. "What? How do you know that I'm almost dying of love for my husband?" Jiang Nan was stunned. "What are you talking about?" I covered my chest. "You're right. I can't live without him. I wish I could tie myself to him. I love him so much. If I don't see him for a second, my heart will stop beating." Jiang Nan frowned. "I didn't say," I interrupted him, waving my hand, "but there's no way, after all. My husband is tall, handsome, rich, has a good figure, and great stamina. He has countless advantages. As soon as he stands there, I can't see anyone else. He's all I can see." The temperature around gradually warmed up, and footsteps sounded behind me. Ji Huixing walked over. Behind him was his good friend, Lin Mo, who was staring at me in shock. I turned my head and pretended to be surprised, covering my mouth. "Honey, when did you come? I just saw you." After a pause, I covered my face and hid in his arms. "Oh my God, I'm so shy." "Then did you hear all the true words I just said that couldn't be more true?" Ji Huixing raised his hand and stroked my waist. His thin lips parted slightly, and his voice was hoarse and scary. "Yes, I heard them all." Lin Mo beside us rubbed his arms and kept rolling his eyes. "Sister, what you said just now was so fake. Which fool would like to hear that? You might as well go and deceive a 3-year-old. I glared at him. Before I could speak, Ji Huixing lowered his head and rubbed the tip of my nose. His voice was coquettish. I like it so much. It sounds so good. Can you say more, Lin Mo? I grinned and nodded desperately. 8. Jiang Nan, who had been silent for a long time, forced a ugly smile. Sang, I'll go first. I'll come to see you again. After saying this, he walked out step by step, looking back reluctantly. Wait, I called out to him. At the same time, I felt the strength of Ji Huixing holding me increase suddenly. I pretended not to notice, cleared my throat, and said, Mr. Jiang, you'd better not come to see me in the future. I'm married and don't want to have too much contact with you. I don't want to make my husband suspicious. That's it, walk faster and don't keep looking back. We're going to have dinner, and we didn't cook for you. As soon as I finished speaking, the strength on my hand became gentle instantly. Jiang Nan still wanted to say something, but Ji Huixing raised his eyes and gave him a cold look. Fear filled Jiang Nan's eyes. He immediately shut up, tucked his tail between his legs, and scurried away. 9. I turned around. Accidentally, I saw Lin Mo winking at Ji Huixing non-stop. His expression seemed to be provocative. I suddenly had some bad thoughts in my mind. Ji Huixing, were you always bullied in the sea before? Ji Huixing looked at me without speaking. Lin Mo beside him seemed to have heard a joke and laughed heartily. Bully him? What nonsense are you talking about? Who would dare to touch a single hair of his? They would be cut into pieces and fed to the crocodiles. I didn't believe Lin Mo's nonsense. I only believed Ji Huixing. You're such a beautiful little mermaid. Those stinky fish and shrimps in the sea must have bullied you a lot, right? No, actually. Ji Huixing raised his eyes, met my eyes full of pity, pursed his lips, and seemed to have made a certain decision. He said firmly, actually, you're right. They all bullied me. Look, I was right. Ji Huixing lowered his eyelashes. His fingers hooked my hair insecurely. His voice was low and aggrieved. I was very weak before, when I was in the sea. No one loved me, and no one was good to me. They all bullied me. Looking at Ji Huixing, who was bowing his head pitifully, like an innocent dog that had been bullied, my heart softened. I quickly got up and hugged him. Don't be afraid, you were wronged before, but it won't happen in the future. I'll protect you. Okay. Ji Huixing's voice was muffled. Then, will you leave me? Of course not. Will you abandon me? No, I won't. Will you think I'm annoying? No, I won't. Will you think I'm too clingy? No, I like being clung to by you. Hearing this, Ji Huixing rubbed against me in my arms. His furry head made my chin itchy. Xiaoyu, you're so good to me. You're the only one who's good to me in this world. I have nothing but you. Am I very pitiful? I lowered my head and saw that every strand of Ji Huixing's hair seemed to be telling of his past grievances. My heart ached, and I quickly hugged him tightly. Yes, you're so pitiful. I'm so pitiful. Can you be even better to me? Of course I can. Then you sleep with me. Ji Huixing changed his expression in a second. Me, 10, in 2 lifetimes. This was the first time I had shared a bed with Ji Huixing. With the beautiful little mermaid lying beside me, I was a little restless, lying on my back, looking at the ceiling. I listened to Ji Huixing's breathing beside me becoming more and more steady. Ji Huixing, are you asleep? His voice was hoarse, and he replied quickly, not yet. I remembered the news I saw on the internet before. I turned over to face him and asked in a low voice, Ji Huixing, I saw on the internet that mermaids have 2, you know what I mean, right? Is it true? Can I take a look? Hearing this, Ji Huixing's body stiffened violently. His breathing became rapid. After taking several deep breaths, he gritted his teeth and said, shut up and go to sleep. Oh, his breathing was not right, and I didn't dare to provoke him. I obediently turned over and closed my eyes. 20 minutes later, Ji Huixing's breathing gradually calmed down. I stuck my head out from under the quilt, blinked my eyes, and asked, so, is it true? Ji Huixing took a deep breath, saying you, something was wrong, very wrong. I closed my eyes and quickly got under the quilt, but it was too late. Ji Huixing gently grasped my shoulder. There was an abnormal red in his eyes. Xiaoyu, I want. What? Before I could finish speaking, he directly pulled me under him. His tone was coaxing. Be good, don't you want to know if there are 2? I'll show you. Okay, Ji Huixing. 11. Ji Huixing seemed to be tireless. Vaguely, I remembered that when I fell asleep, the sky was already getting bright. In the last second before I fell asleep, I felt Ji Huixing gently kiss my forehead, his voice low and tender. I found the coral stone you wanted at the bottom of the sea. You don't want to dive into the sea, so I came ashore for you. baby, I'm really good, try to love me wholeheartedly, okay, okay. I was too tired to speak, so I could only answer him in my heart. I slept for a long time and had a lot of chaotic dreams. In the dream, at the age of 16, I accidentally lost my parents and was adopted by Uncle Jiang, a good friend of my father, Jiang Nan's mother. In order to obtain my parents' property to fund her laboratory, tried her best to brainwash me into believing that it was Jiang Nan who saved me. I stubbornly raised my head and said to Jiang Nan's mother, "No, it wasn't Jiang Nan who saved me. It was a very beautiful mermaid. Yes, it was a very beautiful mermaid who saved me from the sea. It was also that mermaid who accompanied me and waited for so many days. He even invited me to go to the bottom of the sea with him." Jiang Nan's mother slapped me in the face, knocking me to the ground. "What mermaid?" "It was Jiang Nan. Jiang Nan is your savior. You should give all the property to our family." "That's not true." I refused to listen, so she kept hitting me until I was on the verge of death. "You little slut, you don't have a long memory. I'll beat you until you remember." Life in the Jiang family was really tough. Jiang Nan's mother dismissed the nanny to save money and made me do all the housework. I had to wash the dishes, cook, and could only eat leftovers. I could only wear Jiang Nan's old clothes and sleep on the floor outside the door. In this family, anyone who was unhappy could beat and scold me to vent their anger. It hurt so much, really hurt. I almost cried myself to sleep every day. "Mermaid from the deep sea, didn't you say you would protect me? Didn't you say you would come back to me when you found the coral stone? Why haven't you come back yet?" It hurts so much. Later, before I could wait for the mermaid I was longing for, I became an experimental subject in Jiang Nan's mother's laboratory. They replaced all my blood, tampered with my memory, and locked me in the laboratory, isolated from the sun. Gradually, I began to forget what the mermaid looked like. Every time I slept for a while, his appearance became a little more blurred in my memory. I didn't want to forget him like this, so I tried to resist my sleepiness. I pricked my arm with a stolen needle. I smashed my leg with a stone. I left countless bloody wounds on my body just to remember him. However, their experiment was still successful. The beautiful mermaid in my memory became an enemy, while Jiang Nan became my savior. Those lost and unpleasant memories completely woke up. I was in so much pain that I could hardly breathe. I desperately reached out to grab something, but it was in vain, until my hand was suddenly held. I opened my eyes suddenly and met Ji Huixing's worried eyes. The dream shattered, and I returned to reality. This time, I was no longer alone. The mermaid who had supported me to live hard was no longer someone I could only see in my dreams. He was right beside me, and I could hug him as soon as I reached out. "Xiaoyu, wake up, you had a nightmare." I suddenly sat up, hugged his neck tightly, and before he could react, I burst into tears in his arms. "You lied, didn't you say you would find the coral stone and come back soon? I've been waiting for you, but I can't wait for you anymore. What should I do? I can't wait for you anymore. Didn't you say you would take me to the bottom of the sea? I want to go to the bottom of the sea. I don't want to go with them. Take me to the bottom of the sea." Okay, they drew my blood. The needles were so thick. They drew it again and again. I was tortured so much that I was worse than dead. Meeting you and going to the bottom of the sea with you was the only thought that supported me to live. How could I not want to go to the bottom of the sea with you? I've been thinking about it like crazy. Ji Huixing, I'm sorry for doing so many things to hurt you before, but how should I say it? I'm sorry. I've really missed you all these years. I didn't care whether Ji Huixing could understand or not. I just wanted to tell him everything. Ji Huixing listened carefully, his eyes turning red, his body trembling. He hugged me tightly with both hands, almost wanting to crush me into his body. After a long time, my emotions gradually calmed down. I wanted to speak, but accidentally blew a snot bubble. I was embarrassed and pushed him. "Ji Huixing, you let go first." Ji Huixing obediently let go of me. It was also at this time that I suddenly noticed a stone hanging around Ji Huixing's neck. The stone was blood red and glowed with a faint light. I held the stone and looked up at him. Ji Huixing held my hand. "It's the most beautiful coral stone at the bottom of the sea. It was the coral stone originally for you, but when I came back, you were no longer there." My nose became sour. Then what? He wiped away my tears and calmly told the story as if it were someone else's. "Then, I waited for you there year after year, but I was so useless that I didn't wait for you. So, I could only come to find you. Aren't you stupid? What if I was dead?" A mermaid only has one partner in their life. Ji Huixing leaned down, looked into my eyes. and promised seriously, word by word, "So, if you live, I live, if you die, I will never live alone." I couldn't help but throw myself into his arms and cry again. 3 days later. The well-known Jiang character laboratory was exposed for doing illegal experiments for many years. The police quickly sealed up the laboratory. Jiang Nan's mother committed suicide by jumping off a building that night. Jiang Nan was also taken away by the police for assisting his mother in doing experiments. When I heard this news, I was teasing Chi-Chi and Babin, and Ji Huixing was sitting behind me, watching my every move intently. I don't know who was so mean-spirited that they plucked all the feathers of Chi-Chi and Babin. The two bald birds flapped their wings resentfully, repeating over and over again, "Quack, quack, the fish is bad, the human is good, the fish is bad, the human is good, quack, curse, curse, leave, leave." Soon, the two of them couldn't even say quack anymore, they could only stare at each other helplessly with their eyes wide open. I quickly called Ji Huixing. "Ji Huixing, Chi-Chi and Babin seem to be sick, come and take a look." Really, hearing my call, Ji Huixing got up and walked over, standing behind me, his chest pressed against my back. And then he blew in my ear, saying slowly, "Are they sick?" I nodded vigorously, "Yes, yes, look, they suddenly can't talk." Ji Huixing stared at my mouth, his right hand climbed up along my waistline, and he replied absent-mindedly, "Oh, maybe they're having their period." Period. I turned my head in shock. "Do birds have periods?" Ji Huixing leaned over and gently pecked at my chin. "Well, what did you search on the computer last night?" "What?" I looked at Ji Huixing's smiling eyes in confusion, then I suddenly remembered what I had searched yesterday. Ji Huixing gently kissed my earlobe, mumbling, "Whether a human and a mermaid can have a baby. If you want to know, you shouldn't search on the internet." My face turned completely red. I subconsciously raised my hand to cover his mouth, saying nervously, "Ji Huixing, stop talking." He gently pecked at my palm, looked up at me, and there seemed to be a seductive hook in his eyes. "You should try it yourself." The next second, Ji Huixing picked me up horizontally and walked towards the bedroom. "Let's go and try." Ji Huixing, it's daytime now. You. The main text is over. Epilogue. Ji Huixing. 1. I was different from other mermaids from the day I was born. My father was the king of the sea, and my mother was the princess of the sea. The witch said that I was a pure-blooded royal with a rare bloodline in 100 years. A mermaid like me was born to be the son of heaven, the most noble little prince in the sea. My tears would turn into pearls. My singing was the most beautiful in the entire sea area. My fish tail emitted a rare gem blue light. I lived carefree in the sea for hundreds of years until I met that human girl. It is recorded in the brief history of the sea that a mermaid only has one partner in their life. Once they are determined, it is for life, forever, and they will never betray. However, humans can have countless partners. They say that humans, in the end, rely on their conscience and love, so, mermaids must never fall in love with humans because they will only suffer losses and not be happy. I firmly believed that the brief history of the sea would not deceive me and always regarded humans as fierce beasts, but this girl in front of me didn't seem to be a fierce beast. She was more like a small flower swaying in the wind and rain. I didn't know human language, but she always seemed to be able to understand what I wanted to say. She called me little fish brother. She would take the initiative to hold my hand. She would also sing human songs to me. I lashed my tail angrily, trying to drive her away. She blinked her eyes and changed from following me closely to following me from afar. She didn't seem to be afraid of me at all and said that I was a good person. No, a good fish. I laughed. Look at her stupid look. Could she tell the difference between good and bad? I thought I should return to the sea and let her stay on the shore crying. However, I didn't want to see her cry. I'll just accompany her for a while, I said to myself. I didn't know what drove me to uncontrollably want to get close to her. Anyway, every day with her was very happy, too. Later, she said she wanted the most beautiful coral stone in the deep sea. To find it, I went through hardships and was seriously injured, but I didn't care. However, when I excitedly held that coral stone and came to the shore, she had already disappeared, just like that, from sunrise to sunset, from sunset to sunrise again. I waited for her day and night, and finally, I understood. She didn't want the coral stone I found. She didn't want me either. Bad guy, I hate you. How could you deceive a small animal? 3. I don't remember how long I waited for her. It seemed like 3 years, or maybe 6 years. Anyway, I couldn't wait for her. So, I decided to go find her. I knew that the sea witch had a potion that could turn me into a human. The witch's old face flickered in the dim light, and her voice was full of sadness. Throughout history, no fish that has fallen in love with a human has come to a good end. Your Highness, in the sea, you are a noble prince. But on the shore, you will lose everything. If she doesn't love you, you may even lose your life. Even so, do you still want to find her? I suddenly realized that this was love. I nodded firmly. The process of turning into a human was extremely painful. I exchanged my proud singing voice for a chance to speak. I drank the witch's potion and turned my tail into human legs. From then on, I could no longer sing. The witch's potion had side effects, although I had human legs. Every step I took was like stepping on a blade, and it hurt unbearably. It doesn't matter, it's all okay. I hurt so much, but when I thought that I was about to see her, it didn't seem to hurt so much. I'm the most tenacious little fish in the sea, they all say so. I'm not afraid of anything, I'm just afraid she doesn't love me. Love me, okay. I've never said this to her directly, because I'm afraid of seeing her eyes full of disgust. That feeling is more painful than the witch's potion. She not only forgot me but also hated me. However, if she had looked at me carefully, she would have known. These words of love were hidden in my gaze when I stared at her, in my uncontrollable heartbeat, and in my blushing every time. I used these ways to silently ask her more than once, love me, okay, just try to give me a little love, okay, sérieux, love me. For, maybe the heavens heard my prayer. Suddenly one day, the way she looked at me was no longer one of disgust and nausea but one of guilt and pity. I thought darkly, guilt could trap her, pity could be regarded as love. In this way, could I use these to lock her up for a lifetime? I admit that I'm despicable, dark, and unscrupulous. I